welcome to episode 56 of Adventures in Welding, brought to you by Eastwood. Get the job done right. So today's question we're looking at is, I just brought home a new TIG welder. What the hell am I supposed to do with it? Well, you're supposed to weld, brother. But in case you don't have any experience at all, Paul's here to help you. So what we got today is a 6-inch by 3-inch piece of mild steel. Factory fresh. See, still got the little sticker on the back here because I got it from Lowe's. I didn't feel like dealing with the local steel yard. They want to deal with corporations, not individuals, so they make it kind of difficult for me. So I spent way too much money and just bought a piece of steel from Lowe's. Alright, anyway. Before we get started, we're going to clean this up. The thing about TIG is it likes a very clean steel. It likes to weld clean to clean. That's how you're going to get your best look. So this is hot rolled steel. It has a little bit of mill scale on it. So what we're going to do is first we're going to take a grinder and grind it. Then we're going to take a flap disc and kind of polish it up. I'm going to speed this all up so that you don't have to deal with watching all this crap. All right? Let me get the gear and we'll go do this first part. First the grinder, then the flap disc. Alright, step one is using the grinder. Step one to using the grinder is to always have eye protection on. These are Jackson Nemesis safety goggles, very good. Just make sure any eyewear that you're wearing says safety glass or safety plastic on it, you know. Your regular eyeglasses are not going to save you from this. Nothing's really going to save you from this, but we can pretend. So using the edge of the sander held at a slight angle, I'm just going to dress the top of this plate. I'm not going to dig in. I'm just going to dress it. And you'll see what I mean as we go along. Okay, there's our steel, and you can see it's shiny now. Well, I guess the mill scale side is still kind of shiny, but this is almost mirror-like. Next step, we're going to do the same thing with the flap disc. If you don't have a flap disc, don't worry about it. This is just an extra step that I like to go through. See that now? That's a mirror-like finish pretty much. So that's very clean, but there's one last thing that I like to do before I'm going to call the thing clean, and that is clean it off with a solvent, acetone or alcohol. I've got some alcohol with me today. Got some nice 8-year-old scotch, but we'll just use denatured alcohol for this. Clean it off real good. Alright, we've got our metal cleaned up, and what I want to show you now is the TIG torch. This is a number 17 gas cooled flex head TIG torch with a 3/32 inch 2% I believe this is lanthanated tungsten, and a number 7 gas cup. I got about a 1/4 inch of stick out there. So when you're getting ready to start learning how to do this, you want to bring your make sure you're powered off. See, we're powered off here, nothing's going to happen. You want to have your torch perpendicular to the work. Hold on a second. Alright, there's my little speed square. You want to hold the torch perpendicular to the work in this direction and also in this direction. That is the perfect position to weld in. Now you want the tip of the torch to be about a 1/16 to no more than an 1/8 of an inch from the metal. So this is going to be your position you're going to start. But then I want you to tip your torch just a few degrees away from the direction of travel. And the only reason we do that is so that we can see the tip of the tungsten and the puddle. So from this position, if you're using a high frequency start rig, you're going to get your distance. You're either going to push the start switch on the trigger, or you're going to step on the foot pedal. It's going to go, and then you'll be melting steel. TIG is a push process, so if you're right-handed, you're going to hold it like this, and you're going to go right to the left. If you're left-handed, you'll start over here, and you'll be going like this. The keys are a consistent speed, a consistent height. You just want to keep that moving at the same rate. And the only way you're going to do that is by reading the puddle. You need to look right there where that tip is just a couple millimeters above the puddle. You need to get your head down there and you need to be able to see that. As you see the metal melting, you move along. Now for your first welds, they're going to be what are called homogeneous welds. No filler metal is going to be used. You're just going to melt this metal, move along, and it's going to cool the puddle behind you, and it'll leave a nice shiny weld if you've got everything just right. So what is everything just right? Everything just right is your amperage, your distance, your travel speed, and your gas coverage. So how do we figure those things out? Well, luckily I have a machine that has a chart that gives me a little cheat. But if you don't, a rule of thumb is 1 amp per 1/1000th of an inch thickness of steel. So this is about 1/8 of an inch. It's about 125 thousandths. So you could set this at about 125 amps. You want between 15 and 30 CFM of gas. Your machine may come in more specifically. Like for instance, my machine, Eastwood TIG 200 AC/DC, calls for this to be at about 12 CFH of gas. Now what you've got to do is you've got to strike your arc, you've got to melt your puddle, run yourself a little homogeneous bead about 1 inch long or so. Don't start right at the edge, you're going to end up melting through. And you've got to look at it and you've got to say, is it cloudy? Is it dirty? Is it sooty? If it's any of those things, it's either contamination or gas coverage. Then you got to look, is the puddle flat? Is it smooth? Is it of consistent height? Is it of consistent width? Those are the things based on how you're holding and moving the torch. So then you got to look at your little 1 inch puddle and you've got to say, well, this is what I did and this is what I got, but only change one thing at a time. So if you've got a black, chunky looking puddle with mountains and valleys, you're going to start with one thing at a time. The easiest thing is to check your gas flow. So I'm going to set up my machine for 125 amps, 12 CFH, that's cubic feet per hour of argon flow. And we'll come over here and we'll strike an arc and we'll see what we can get going. All right. Mark. All right, guys, I'm getting my gloves on, I got my helmet on, I got my jacket on. I've got my machine set up like we talked about for 125 amps, 12 CFH of argon. I've got my pre-flow set to 0.4 of a second and my post-flow set to 5 seconds. We'll talk about that. Just notice that when the weld is done, I'm not pulling the torch right off of it. Stay in there. All right, so I've got my torch here. First thing you got to figure out is how you're going to hold it. You can hold it like this, kind of like a hammer. I prefer to hold it like this. But one thing, you've got to be able to brace yourself. You got to be able. You're going to have to use two hands, so you're not going to be able to do it like that. Okay. So I like to do it like this, and then I can modulate my height by opening or closing my fingers. All right. Let's check out our first weld. I'm going to get real close here, move up a little bit, step on the pedal and begin the arc, and then this is going to be a homogeneous weld. We'll do probably about 4 inches. All right, guys, this episode is getting too big for its own britches. We're already at 10 minutes and 50 seconds, so I'm going to break this here, and tomorrow come back to see the result of this, and we'll continue on. See ya!